Chapter 110. Gu Mingming could not stand the torment and screamed in fear. "Leader, save me!" Before she could finish her sentence, she had already fallen into an embrace. Her pale face was pressed onto Elvis's chest, and she tilted her head to listen. His strong heartbeat calmed Gu Mingming's flustered emotions, but it could not suppress her urge to vomit. Unfortunately, there was not much food in her stomach. Gu Mingming did not vomit anything after retching twice, and collapsed weakly in Elvis's arms. Damn it! She really did not expect that after avoiding the Happy Valley and Disney, she ended up on an exciting roller coaster ride in the ancient wilderness, and it was the kind that did not even have a seatbelt. Gu Mingming felt as if she had a serious illness, and did not even have the energy to scold anyone. Elvis looked at Gu Mingming, and felt a little heartache and helpless. He gently cupped her little face and said, "No one has ever brought back so much yellow gravy, but you only brought Colin, Oakley and Bode, and you did it. Looks like I have to give up the title of the #1 warrior of Saint Nazaire to you." Gu Mingming sighed in resignation and said, "They suddenly went crazy and threw me up because of this?" Elvis's gaze swept across the group of males who were still unable to calm down from their excitement and nodded. "Yes, you are the pride of Saint Nazaire." Gu Mingming felt really helpless. Why did these people always go crazy because of some random things? It was just some honey. Why did they have to go crazy? Was it an illusion? Why did she feel that the way those males looked at her was not right? It felt like they wanted to eat her up. "Xiao Meng." Elvis patted Gu Mingming's back lightly and said, "I am so happy to be your partner. You are my biggest pride." Partner. Gu Mingming really wanted to kill herself. She had just told Leah clearly that she did not have the intention to become partners, but she had forgotten that Elvis still misunderstood. "Sigh, I treated you as my leader, but you wanted to sleep with me?" Mingming. Gu Mingming wanted to explain, but was interrupted by Leah. He whispered into Gu Mingming's ear at a volume that only the two of them could hear. "Everyone in the tribe is watching. If you have anything to say it after we return." Gu Mingming glanced at the male beasts who were still in a state of rage, pursed her lips and nodded. Elvis treated her so well. She could not let Elvis be so embarrassed and be rejected in front of everyone in the tribe. He even had to hear her say that he was just thinking too much. "Let's eat first. I'm starving." Gu Mingming smiled brightly and put aside Elvis's matter for now. They could talk about it when they got home at night. However, now that Elvis was obviously not going to be her godmother, then, could she still stay in Elvis's cave? Although Elvis did not know what Gu Mingming and Leah were talking about, he could not help but feel uneasy. However, seeing Gu Mingming's smiling face, he could not bear to ask and did not dare to ask. He could only follow her wishes and nodded his head. Gu Mingming turned around to look for Sandy in the crowd. From afar, she saw a small isolated area beside the crowded stream. There were 2 or 3 figures there. She could not see them clearly as they were too far away, but she could vaguely feel that they could be Sandy. Hence, Gu Mingming shouted Sandy's name while rushing towards that direction. With Elvis and Leah guarding the area, Gu Mingming passed through the crowd effortlessly. But when she reached the front, she saw that there were 3 females in that small empty space, and Sandy was one of them. She was standing at the side wiping her tears, feeling wronged. Aside from the topic, "Ayaya, it's going to be 2 p.m. tomorrow. Let me remind my babies again to clock in on time after 12 noon tomorrow to catch up on the novel." Chapter 111. "Nina, it's you again? Are you itching for a beating?" Gu Mingming pulled Sandy behind her and frowned. She rolled up her sleeves and was about to pounce on Nina. Nina had suffered at Gu Mingming's hands before, so why would she go against her? Moreover, Gu Mingming was not Sandy. Her males were Elvis and Leah. Even if all the males in her family attacked together, they would not be a match for those 2 Buddhas. So Nina's body softened, and she pretended to be innocent. "I didn't do anything. Didn't you ask everyone in the tribe to come to the stream for a meal? Can I come? If you want to eat, just eat. Why did you bully Sandy?" Gu Mingming did not believe that Sandy would just stand there and cry pitifully if Nina did not bully her. "She has you backing her up. How would I dare to bully her?" "If you don't believe me, ask her. What did I do to her? Nina put on a hypocritical look and pointed at Sandy with her chubby chin. She wanted Gu Mingming to ask her. Gu Mingming then turned around and held Sandy's little hands gently. She asked gently, Sandy, don't be afraid. I'm here. If she bullied you, just tell me. I'll beat her up for you. She didn't bully me, but she said bad things about you. I was so angry that I argued with her. She then asked her males to beat a dolly until he was seriously injured. Sob sob. Sandy looked at Gu Mingming. She was like an aggrieved wife who had found her pillar of support. The more she spoke, the more aggrieved she became. Her tears could not stop flowing. Although Gu Mingming did not know who a dolly was, he must be one of her partners to stand up for Sandy. Gu Mingming did not even have the energy to retort. She had already beaten up your husband until he was seriously injured. How dare you say she did not bully you? How much more did you want to bully her? But Sandy was already covered in tears. Gu Mingming could not bear to say anything more to her. She hugged her gently and patted her back to comfort her. Alright, it's alright. I'll ask Daddy Leah to take a look at a dolly later. He will be fine. As for Nina, leave her to me. Don't cry. If her eyes are swollen like peaches, she won't be pretty anymore. Gu Mingming sent the sobbing Sandy into the arms of Bode, who was grinding his teeth and was about to charge forward to fight for his life. Gu Mingming gave him a look, telling him to comfort Sandy. Then she turned to look at Leah. She did not say anything, but the word please was clearly written in her clear eyes. Leah originally wanted to stay behind to protect Gu Mingming, but seeing Gu Mingming's expression, he did not reject her. After all, having Elvis here was enough. I'll go take a look at a dolly. I'll leave this place to you. Leah instructed Elvis before turning around to leave. After everything was settled, Gu Mingming rotated her neck left and right as a warm-up. She smiled at Sandy with an evil intention and said, I warned you not to bully Sandy, or else I will beat you up every time I see you. Is your IQ really lacking, or do you not put me in your eyes at all? What are you doing? Nina had seen Gu Mingming's little fists before. Although they looked light, it was still very painful to hit. What am I doing? Of course I'm fulfilling my promise. If I don't beat you up today, others will think that I'm untrustworthy. As Gu Mingming said, she pounced towards Nina, looking like she wanted to tear her into spicy strips. She was like a wild cat that had gone mad, wild and dangerous. Even the males at the side who did not dare to intervene in a female dispute broke out in cold sweat, muttering to themselves, why didn't this Nina learn her lesson? Why did she have to offend her? She was the Gu Mingming who could snatch the yellow gravy from the yellow needleworm and come out unscathed. Aside from the topic, today was the day of PK. The 2 sessions in the morning would be updated as usual, and the 3rd session would be updated at 2 p.m. Starting tomorrow, Chapter 1, 8:30 Chapter 2, 9 o'clock Chapter 3 9:30. Those little babies who have not clicked on favorites, remember to do so and be more proactive in leaving comments. Chapter 112. You can't hit me. Nina pulled one of her partners over to block in front of her. Only then did she have the chance to finish her sentence. I'm pregnant, and I'm definitely pregnant with a little female. If you hit me now, even if you're the most beautiful woman in the tribe, Elvis will not side with you. Gu Mingming's hand froze in midair, and 10,000 beasts were galloping in her heart. She knew Nina was a pervert, but she didn't expect her to be this pervert. Do you think I'm a fool? You weren't even pregnant when I hit you 2 days ago, and now you're pregnant in the blink of an eye. Gu Mingming remembered that she had punched Nina's stomach on the platform of the deity's punishment. If she was pregnant, that punch would definitely be enough to cause a miscarriage. But she was perfectly fine that day, and now she was pregnant after a night's sleep? Do you think you're Miyu? You can even get pregnant in a dream? I'm pregnant. Nina's face turned red, and she was determined not to admit it. Gu Mingming laughed coldly and said sarcastically, other than *T, there should be nothing else in your stomach. If you don't believe me, I'll punch you and you'll know the truth. As Gu Mingming said, she walked around Nina's partners and grabbed Nina, like an eagle catching a chick. Nina dodged left and right pathetically and cried out as she dodged. Gu Mingming, why are you so evil? You didn't even let the unborn female in my stomach off. Stop talking nonsense. Don't run if you have the guts. Gu Mingming fainted to the left and Nina ran to the right. Gu Mingming dodged and caught Nina in the act. Run, run. Gu Mingming twisted Nina's wrists behind her back and held both of them with one hand, while her other hand grabbed her hair from the back of her head. She pulled Nina's unbearable face in front of her and said word by word, "If you don't have enough IQ, just stay here obediently. If you have the guts to bully Sandy, then you have to be able to bear the consequences." After Gu Mingming finished speaking, she pushed Nina with all her might and gave her a hard kick on her, but as she fell forward, as expected, Nina fell onto the ground in an extremely pathetic manner. Just as Gu Mingming was about to pounce forward and hit him again, she was blocked by someone. "Gu Mingming, if you have any dissatisfaction, you can ask Elvis or Leah to fight with me. Even if you kill me and all of Nina's partners, we have no complaints. But no matter what, Nina is still a precious female of Saint Nazir. Please don't hurt her anymore." His voice was dry and hoarse, and his eyes were filled with reverence, but he did not shrink back. He only had one arm, but he did not seem to be in a sorry state at all. Instead, he had a kind of unyielding elegance. Gu Mingming looked up and indeed, she saw Quentin's familiar face. Towards Quentin, Gu Mingming still had some reservations. After all, she almost died in his hands 2 days ago. Gu Mingming was never a person who blindly flaunted her strength. She knew that she had no chance of winning against Quentin. So while retreating, she lifted her chin and asked, "Why? Are you going to play the same trick again? You didn't kill me last time, so you want to kill me again today? Let me tell you, my leader is here, you can't hurt me." Elvis took the opportunity to carry Gu Mingming up with one arm. He was clearly only half a head taller than Quentin, but the pressure of a natural king made him look much more muscular than Quentin. That was an absolute crushing pressure. As if looking at an ant with disdain, he looked at Quentin, who was standing in front of him, and said, "You're not worthy to fight with me. Call all the males in your family fight." Aside from the topic, watch my Gu Mingming sealing technique. Those who are hit by this technique must immediately click to collect, or else there will be no meat to eat. Chapter 113. Elvis's word battle shocked the entire place into silence. Everyone seemed to be holding their breaths, afraid that if they breathed too loudly, they would be burned. "Elvis, you actually want to kill all the males for her?" Nina saw that Gu Mingming was being carried in Elvis's arms, and could not jump down to hit her for a while. Furthermore, Quentin had also rushed back, so she became much more daring. She directly stood out from behind Quentin and reprimanded Elvis, as though he was Chin Shimmy. "Back then, in order to prove my fertility to you, I got pregnant with a nest of eaglets the year I came of age. But in order to give birth to your first nest of wolf cubs, I forced Quentin to smash all the eggs in the nest. I don't blame you for always distancing yourself from me all these years. As long as you agree to mate with me now, I promise that when I go into estrus next spring, I will mate with you immediately and give birth to your first nest of wolf cubs. Give up on that Gu Mingming. It's going to be winter soon. If she goes into estrus at this time, she will definitely not have a good ending. Even if she successfully gets pregnant after you mate, with that skinny body of hers, how can she survive the long winter? And how can she give birth to healthy cubs for you?" Elvis was expressionless. He grabbed Nina's neck with one hand and lifted her off the ground easily. He squinted his dangerous eyes and said in a voice so cold that it seemed like ice could form, "You don't have the right to comment on Xiaomeng." Quentin held onto Elvis's wrist. Even though he was on his last breath after going through 3 days of the deity's punishment ritual, coupled with the fact that the murderous aura and pressure from Elvis was too strong, making it extremely difficult for him to even breathe. But looking at Nina, who was on the verge of death, Quentin still forced himself to take a breath and said with difficulty, "She's a female." Elvis curled his lips in disdain. His pupils shifted slightly, and he glanced at Quentin from the corner of his eyes, asking, "So what?" Quentin pursed his lips tightly. He knew. And it was precisely because he knew that he chose to bring Nina to Saint Nazir back then, The rules of the beast world were completely useless to Elvis. No, to a mated male, nothing was more important than his own female. Even he could kill Gu Ming Ming because of Nina's words. What more Elvis? Quentin felt that his vision was starting to turn yellow, and everything he saw was blurry. This was a sign of fainting. If he did not think of a way, Nina would probably die before he fainted. Quentin used his last consciousness to form a sentence. Gu Ming Ming will be scared. Although this sentence was short, it effectively dispersed Elvis's murderous aura. He lowered his head to look at Gu Ming Ming, who was nestled in his arms, and recalled how she had cried at the campfire party on the night she came of age. His heart ached, and he flung Nina far away. He rubbed the hand that was strangling Nina's neck twice on his beast-skin dress, before patting Gu Ming Ming's back gently and comforted her. Don't be afraid, I'm here. Seeing that Nina was saved, Quentin finally couldn't support his weak body anymore. His legs gave way, and he collapsed onto the ground. Even though he might never be able to open his eyes again, the corners of his lips were still curled upwards. As long as she was fine, everything was fine. Out of topic. Question. What race is Sandy? The first one to answer correctly. XXB 66 second 156 third 136. Every subsequent 118 XXB. Chapter 114. Gu Ming Ming was indeed frightened. Although she would tear Nina's crotch apart, she never had the intention to kill anyone. Although she relied on Elvis to be a little arrogant, she was just using her connections to intimidate Nina's partners, so that they would not dare to act rashly, so that she would not suffer a huge loss. Gu Ming Ming was still a coward when it came to a life-threatening situation. Looking at the few males blocking in front of Nina, looking like the generous 5 warriors of the Wolf Ivory Mountain, Gu Ming Ming could not bear to do it. Damn it! Marrying an unlucky wife is a sure way to suffer for the rest of your life. Elvis, don't be like this. Gu Ming Ming wrapped her arms around Elvis's neck and rested her head on his neck softly, comforting him. Although Nina and I are not on good terms, I am never the one who suffers a loss. We are all from the same tribe. We see each other all the time. There's no need to fight to the death, all right? Elvis's temper was appeased by Gu Ming Ming's gentle words. By right, there was no need to fight to the death. He just had to stand there and release some beast pressure. And it would be enough to suppress Nina's partners to the point that they could not take care of themselves. But he was angered, and wanted to use the most primitive and barbaric method to tear them apart. Of course, it was because Nina had offended Gu Ming Ming, and Boat had broken the rules by interfering. But on a deeper level, he could not deny that Gu Ming Ming's hesitation, and Lee's ambiguous "we'll talk about it when we get back," made him feel uneasy and frustrated. Luckily, Gu Ming Ming was still in his arms, hugging him back gently, so that he could deceive himself and others into believing that he was overthinking. Elvis responded to Gu Ming Ming's gaze gently, nodding his head. I will listen to you. Gu Ming Ming then felt at ease, smiling brightly. I knew leader is the best. Elvis accepted Gu Ming Ming's praise gladly, then put her down, letting her run back to Sandy's side. From an angle that Gu Ming Ming could not see, Elvis glanced at Nina's partners. That glance was filled with cold killing intent, and a strong sense of warning. He did not say a single word, but it made Nina's partners tremble in fear and prostrate themselves before him. They carried Nina, who was paralyzed on the ground, and ran far away. They hid at the edge of the crowd, not daring to let Nina near Gu Ming Ming. Quentin, on the other hand, was still unconscious on the ground. Nobody cared about him. Gu Ming Ming held on to Sandy and wiped her little face, saying, All right, don't cry. The next time Nina bullies you, hit her back. In any case, you're also from the bear race. Are you still afraid of her? But she's a perfect female, and I'm just a half-orc female. Tisk. If you continue like this, I will be angry. Gu Ming Ming pulled a long face and said, So what if I'm a complete female? So what if she was a half-beast female? Wasn't it just a pair of furry little ears? How beautiful. She wanted it, but she didn't have it yet. You don't even know how much I like your little ears. If they grew on my head, I would be so beautiful. Sandy touched her ears. For the first time, she didn't feel inferior when she touched them. Instead, she felt a sense of warmth. You really like them? Of course I like them. These are Sandy's little ears, my favorite part of Sandy. Sandy blushed and nodded her head in reply. I also like Gu Mingming the most. The two females smiled until their eyes turned into crescents, while Elvis and Bode stared at each other with a heavy heart. They liked each other the most, then, what should they do? Aside from the topic, today's small question. Gu Mingming transmigrated to the beast world because she wanted to get close to a heartthrob senior. May I ask, which club senior is this heartthrob from? Reward policy. First place 68, XXB second place 58, XXB third place 38, XXB other participation prizes 18, XXB note. This activity is limited to the little darlings who left comments in Xiaoxiang Academy, because on other platforms, Jiner does not have a backer and cannot set up any rewards. Chapter 115. Gu Mingming and Sandy held hands as they walked towards the main fire, with Elvis and Bode following behind them. When they passed by Quentin, Gu Mingming paused and turned back to ask Elvis. Didn't Nina's partners bring Quentin along with them? He will die if they leave him here. I'll ask someone to send him over. Elvis did not want Gu Mingming to care about other males, even if they were already mated. Luckily, Gu Mingming did not have a good impression of Quentin, but she still had a kind heart and would not turn a blind eye to him dying in front of her. But Quentin came down from the platform of the deity's punishment. Then what about Barit? Why don't I see him? Gu Mingming asked while looking around, but she really did not see Barit at all. Colin stood behind Gu Mingming, lowered his head and frowned, replying, Barit did not make it. He died on the platform of the deity's punishment last night. Now, Upon hearing that, Gu Mingming did not have time to think. She retracted her little hand that was holding on to Sandy and pushed her into Bode's arms, saying, You guys eat first, I'll go check on Barit. Gu Mingming did not have time to think. She directly jumped onto Elvis's back and shouted, Leader, hurry, 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 platform of the deity's punishment. Elvis frowned. He disliked Barit even more now. But even though he was unwilling, he still did not disobey Gu Mingming. He transformed into a wolf and brought Gu Mingming to the platform of the deity's punishment at lightning speed. Gu Mingming climbed up the platform of the deity's punishment with all four limbs, using her finger to check Barit's breathing. Although it was weak, he was not dead yet. Great, he can still be saved if he's not dead. Barit was punished because of Gu Mingming. If he died just like that, Gu Mingming would not be able to forgive herself no matter what. Raising her head, she saw that the males who were waiting by the stream for their meal had also followed her like a swarm of bees. Gu Mingming could not even be bothered about her helplessness. She spotted Colin in the crowd at one glance, so she ordered, Colin, help me get some water. All right. Colin didn't ask why. His and Barit's skills were closely related, and they had been rivals and friends for so many years. If they were lucky, they might even become a family in the future because of Gu Mingming. Barit died on the platform of the deity's punishment just like that, and he was very upset. If Gu Mingming really had a way to bring him back to life, not to mention fetching some water, even if she wanted him to slit his throat and let his blood out, he would do it. Originally, the platform of the deity's punishment was close to the stream. It only took Colin less than a minute to break the leaves and fetch water. Gu Mingming carried Barit's head and placed it on her thighs as a pillow. Then, she took the leaves from Colin's hands and slowly poured the water into Barit's mouth. But Barit had been unconscious for a long time, and even swallowing was a problem. That little bit of water flowed out the way it was poured in. Gu Mingming clenched her teeth, picked up the leaf, and poured a mouthful of water into her mouth. Then, she pinched open Barit's mouth and fed him the entire mouthful of water. Barit's Adam's apple rolled, and he finally swallowed his first mouthful of water in 3 days. His body was nourished and gradually showed signs of recovery. Gu Mingming persisted and brought the water to her mouth again, preparing to feed him another 2 mouthfuls. However, her wrist was held by Elvis. His eyes were as black as ink and his thin lips were pursed into a straight line. He shook his head. Although it was not a big movement, it was filled with undeniable determination and determination. Aside from the topic, she believed that the little babies might have discovered a problem. The place where they were going to eat was by the stream, and the platform of the deity's punishment was also by the stream. Why did Gu Mingming need Elvis to send her from the place where they were going to eat to the platform of the deity's punishment? There was only one truth. Chapter 116. Elvis pulled Gu Mingming back into his arms and looked down at Barit from above. He casually took a deer that had just stopped breathing and had yet to be cleaned from the hands of a male. He aimed the blood vessel of the deer at Barit's mouth and let the warm blood flow down Barit's throat, nourishing his body. Barit rolled his eyes and forced his dry eyes open. When he saw that figure in a hazy state, the corners of his lips could not help but curve upwards. Gu Mingming. Yes, I'm here. Gu Mingming wanted to struggle out of Elvis's arms, but Elvis's arms did not budge at all, like they were made of steel, not letting her struggle at all. Gu Mingming had no choice but to give up struggling. She stared at Barit helplessly and said, "Why are you so silly? I told you to kneel for 3 days and 3 nights, and you're really going to kneel? This stubborn fellow, if he loses his life, he'll lose everything. As long as you are safe, my life is nothing." With every word Barit said, his throat felt as if it was being cut by a knife. However, this kind of pain made him feel exceptionally blissful. He thanked the beast deity for taking pity on him and fulfilling his last wish. He would use the rest of his life to protect Gu Mingming. Only then would he have no regrets when he had to return to the arms of the beast deity. Fool. Gu Mingming's eyes were a little sore. He had actually done so much for someone he had only known for 2 to 3 days. Since you're not dead, go back and rest. Elvis did not like the way Gu Mingming was looking at Barit, and even more so, he did not like the way she was so concerned about him. Hence, he carried Gu Mingming and jumped down from the platform of the deity's punishment without any explanation, walking back in big strides. Seeing that Gu Mingming did not give up and was still stretching her neck to look back, he whispered into her ear, "The recovery ability of males is very strong. Since he's awake, he won't die. Sandy is waiting for you. If you don't go back, she'll cry again." "Oh yes, Sandy is still waiting for me." Gu Mingming retracted her gaze from the platform of the deity's punishment and turned to look forward. She rubbed her tummy and said, "Even I feel hungry. Sandy must be famished too. Hurry up, let's go back and eat." Elvis sighed silently. Was his decision wise? Why did it feel like there was a wolf at the front door and a tiger at the back door? Between Barit and Sandy, who should he guard against first? Even though he was thinking about it, Elvis did not slow down his pace. After all, Gu Mingming was also hungry. When they returned to the place where they were supposed to roast the meat, Gu Mingming really wanted to shake her head and leave. Do you know what it means to be covered in corpses and to have blood flow like a river? If he glanced to the left, he would see a tiger's paw. If he glanced to the right, he would see a wolf's head. F***CKme. Beast God, aren't you going to do something about your people being so cruel? What happened? Elvis's gaze circled around Gu Mingming, so he naturally did not miss out on her aggrieved expression. Gu Mingming sighed helplessly and wrapped her arms around Elvis's neck. The ground was filled with blood. She did not want to go down. "Gu Mingming, you're back." Sandy welcomed her from afar and smiled sweetly at her. Gu Mingming looked at Bode, who was standing behind Sandy, and said bluntly, "The ground is so dirty and you're letting Sandy run around like that?" Bode was infuriated by her scolding. He wanted to retort but did not dare to do so due to Elvis's pressure and Sandy's protection. Aside from the topic. Chapter 117. Bode carried Sandy up according to Gu Mingming's instructions and stood behind Elvis from the side. Gu Mingming then nodded her head in satisfaction, then pointed to a relatively clean place by the stream and said, "Leader, let's go there." All right. Any place with Gu Mingming was a good place. Elvis brought Gu Mingming to the stream and Bode carried Sandy over. Once the two females landed on the ground, they held hands and started to converse like best friends. Elvis and Bode could not interrupt at all, and could only sigh silently, waiting for when these two fellows would remember them. Growl, growl, Sandy's stomach growled, and Gu Ming Ming then remembered that they had not eaten yet. She smiled and said, "Leader, help me start a fire here. Bode, bring over 2 fishes that Elvis and Leah caught just now." Bode clenched his teeth, but did not dare to bare his teeth at Gu Ming Ming. Sullenly, he followed Gu Ming Ming's instructions. Elvis started a fire a few times, and could be said to be very familiar with it now. Not long later, a small warm fire was started. Gu Ming Ming took over the big fish that Bode brought over, and used a thin stone she picked up from the river to scrape off the fish's scales. She borrowed Elvis's sharp claws to cut open the fish's stomach, and took out all the internal organs before throwing them away. Then, she washed the fish in the stream, and used the branches that Elvis had prepared earlier to skewer the fish using the cross-fixation method, and roast it slowly over the fire. The aroma of the fish became stronger as time went by. Sandy, who had a look of disdain, could not help but swallow her saliva. She had already asked Gu Ming Ming 8 times, "Can we eat now?" Gu Ming Ming pretended to be mysterious and said, "Almost done, but we still lack a secret weapon." "What is it?" Sandy could not help but become nervous and lowered her voice. The way the two of them spoke was like an underground gang meeting. However, to males with exceptional hearing, they really did not need to do so, because they could still hear clearly. Gu Ming Ming hooked her finger and asked Sandy to come closer. Sandy naturally did as she was told. Gu Ming Ming whispered into Sandy's ear, "Yellow gravy." Sandy had thought that Gu Ming Ming wanted the yellow gravy to roast the rabbits. Although Gu Ming Ming had brought back a lot of yellow gravy, no one managed to hunt any rabbits today, and was still feeling regretful. Who would have thought that this water shuttle could also be roasted with yellow gravy? Too unexpected, too pleasantly surprised. Bode, hurry! Bring the yellow sauce that Gu Ming Ming brought back. Bring all of it over. Finally, Bode was so touched that he was about to cry. After a whole day, he finally got an order. It was from Sandy. They had been ordered around by Gu Ming Ming for an entire day, and now they could finally be ordered around by their own females. You guys don't understand this kind of happiness. Bode had not walked far when Colin walked over with all the yellow gravy he had gotten today, and all the yellow gravy that the males in the tribe had contributed to coax Gu Ming Ming. Gu Ming Ming chuckled. "I don't need so much. Share it with everyone. Everyone here will have a share. Let's all have a taste." "How can we do that? This precious yellow gravy is not even enough for the females. How are the males going to eat it?" Colin looked at the yellow gravy in his hands and felt his heart ache. Although he had used Gu Ming Ming's method, and obtained it successfully this time, it was hard to guarantee that it would be the same next time. If it was given to the males, what would Gu Ming Ming eat? Aside from the topic. Come, today's small question. What is the prototype of Daddy Leah? Reward policy, first place, 68xxb second place, 58xxb third place, 38xxb other participation prizes, 18xxb note. Chapter 118. Haha, the sexism in the beast world was really deeply rooted. Looking at the males standing behind Colin nodding their heads in agreement, Gu Ming Ming did not know whether to laugh or cry. Dusting off her hands and standing up, Gu Ming Ming nodded her head and said, "Although the yellow gravy is precious, it's not something rare. As long as you guys can help me find the nest of the yellow needle insects, I can guarantee an unlimited supply of yellow gravy from Saint Nazir. Just one thing, it doesn't matter how much you eat, but you can't waste it." If it was in the past, Gu Ming Ming's words would only be treated as a willful little female spouting nonsense. They would only cooperate and express their admiration. Then even if it meant risking their lives, they would still help her fulfill her promise. But now the situation seemed to be reversed. This skinny and tiny female seemed to be emitting an irresistible power. Her words were convincing, and there was no room for doubt. Even males could eat the yellow gravy? Such a precious thing, unlimited supply? Everyone looked at Gu Ming Ming, their hearts surging. They had to become stronger. How could they let a little female shoulder the heavy burden of making the entire Saint Nazaire prosperous? She was so weak, she should be protected and taken care of. Gu Mingming obviously did not know that her words seemed to have given the males of Saint Nazaire a stimulant, and it was the kind that was effective all year round. From this day onwards, the males of Saint Nazaire trained themselves even harder. Whether it was hunting or guarding the territory, they had an unprecedented drive. They wanted to be strong enough to protect Gu Mingming. Of course, this was a story to be told later. Let's not talk about it for now. Although Colin's heart ached for the yellow gravy, he would definitely follow Gu Mingming's instructions. However, the males carefully wrapped the yellow gravy in leaves and kept it, thinking that if there was a time when the female did not have enough to eat, they would take out their own for the female to eat. Gu Mingming did not force him. It was hard to remove such deep-rooted beliefs. Moreover, it was not a bad thing to take good care of a lady. Why must she correct him? Gu Mingming asked for a wolf tail that the male intended to throw away. After washing it clean with the stream water, she dipped it in honey and brushed it evenly on the surface of the roasted fish. Then, she slowly flipped the fish until the honey was roasted to a golden color, and the air was filled with a charred sweet smell. Gu Mingming then took the roasted fish down from the rack and tasted a small piece. As expected, the roasted fish with honey was much more delicious than the roasted rabbit, which had no taste at all. Gu Mingming was also not a stingy person. She split the fish into two, giving one half to Sandy and the other to Elvis. Sandy had been craving for it for a long time, and as expected, she scalded her tongue with one bite. She stuck out her pink tongue pitifully and sucked in air, looking so adorable that Gu Mingming could not stop giggling. She took the roasted fish and passed it to Bode. She instructed him to blow on it and let Sandy eat it when it was warm. Then, she folded a leaf into a cone shape and scooped a leaf of water for Sandy to drink to ease her thirst. Now that Sandy had something to eat, she could not be bothered to talk to Gu Mingming anymore. She pounced into Bode's arms and stared at the roasted fish in Bode's hands. Gu Mingming could not be bothered to criticize Sandy for forgetting her friends. She returned to Elvis's side and sat down obediently, preparing to roast another fish for herself. But before her little hands could touch the second fish, Elvis handed over a small piece of fish meat from the side. I blew on it, it's warm. Aside from the topic, Gu Mingming, weak? Needs to be taken care of? Who are you talking about? The author. I'm talking about you. Gu Mingming grabbed the author's collar. I'm the one who knocked Nina down with one punch. You're saying I'm weak? The author shrugged helplessly. They eat tigers, cheetahs, and any wild beasts that can eat you. In the food chain, they are at least 2 levels higher than you. You are not weak. Gu Mingming. F***K. What the F***K? Chapter 119. Gu Mingming felt a warmth in her heart. She opened her mouth with a smile and swallowed the fish that Elvis sent to her mouth. The temperature was just right, and the fish bones had already been picked out. Leader was actually such a meticulous person. Elvis felt a warmth in his heart when he saw Gu Mingming eating contentedly. Luckily, she was willing to give him a chance to take care of her. Maybe he was just overthinking when he said we. Gu Mingming allowed Elvis to feed her, while she swiftly processed the second fish. But before she could scrape off all the scales, Sandy could not wait any longer. A pair of chubby little hands were placed on Gu Mingming's shoulders. She stuck her head out and asked, Gu Mingming, are you done? I still want to eat more. This water shuttle is actually so delicious, it's not done yet. Wait a while. I will let you eat all of it after I'm done. Gu Mingming treated Sandy like a parent who spoiled her child without any principles. Can you teach Bode? Let him learn how to do it from you. Once he learns it, let him roast it for us. Although Sandy was greedy, her heart ached for Gu Mingming's little hands. They must be cold after soaking in the water for such a long time. And even though this water shuttle became extremely delicious after being roasted by Gu Mingming's little hands, it still smelled terrible when processed. Just think about how other females were treated like their ancestors when they were in heat. But Gu Mingming, the first beauty of Saint Nazaire, was actually squatting by the stream to roast fish, and for her to eat. Sandy felt more touched the more she thought about it. She pounced onto Gu Mengmeng and hugged her tightly. Her furry little ears twitched continuously. She said with a naive expression, "Gu Mengmeng, if only you were a male. Then, I would definitely mate with you, and never be separated from you for the rest of my life." Gu Mengmeng used her finger that was soaked in water to touch Sandy's little nose. She smiled and said, Yeah, if I were a male, I would definitely marry you." "Wife." Sandy tilted her head and looked at Gu Mengmeng. "What's that?" "It means partner. We call our female partner wife over there." Gu Mengmeng replied while brushing honey on the fish. "You guys are so funny. The female partner is called wife, and the male partner is called father." Sandy blinked her big eyes and smiled innocently. Gu Mengmeng was speechless. She sneaked a glance at Elvis, who looked unhappy, and hurriedly explained, "Daddy means father, not male partner." Why is Leah your father?" Sandy was even more confused. Speechless, Gu Mengmeng choked and asked the heavens, "Come, this fish is ready. You eat it." Gu Mengmeng stuffed the freshly roasted fish into Sandy's mouth without any explanation, hoping to use food to shut this little ancestor's mouth. No, Board said he'd seen you do it twice and learned. "You eat this one first. I'll wait for Bode to roast it," Sandy said as she pushed the fish back to Gu Mengmeng. She then imitated Gu Mengmeng and said to Elvis, "Take good care of Gu Mengmeng, and blow on it to warm it before feeding it to her. Otherwise it will be very painful if she gets scalded." Perhaps this was the first time someone spoke to Elvis like this. But Elvis did not feel angry. Instead, for the first time, he felt that Sandy, this noisy and crybaby, was rather cute. On the other hand, Sandy, who only dared to be a little presumptuous because Gu Mengmeng was around, felt her legs turn to jelly after she finished speaking. She turned around and ran back to Board's side to wait for the fish. "Wife means female partner. Then is the male partner called leader?" Elvis's voice was as light as the spring breeze, but in Gu Mengmeng's ears, it sounded like thunder on the ground. Damn! How could she explain? Aside from the topic, replying to QQ reading enough 2 scarves. Question yes. Gu Mengmeng's weight was 60 kilograms. The reference was the shameless author himself. "I was 172 kilograms tall, and 51 kilograms at my slimmest. My friends thought I was a drug addict when they saw me, so they dragged me along to preach the correct values of life. After that, I gained some weight, and my weight was around 55 kilograms to 58 kilograms. Only then did I look more normal, and my complexion became better." Chapter 120. Elvis looked at Gu Mengmeng's expression and already knew the answer. He could not hide his disappointment, but he could not bear to scold her. So he just pulled Gu Mengmeng into his arms and pressed his chin against her little head, asking, "Then, what do you call your male partner over there?" Gu Mengmeng shrunk into Elvis's arms like an ostrich and answered guiltily, "Hubby." "Good girl." Elvis's lips curled into a sly smile. Say that he was lying to himself, say that he was burying his head in the sand, but at the end of the day, he had heard that title from her mouth with his own ears. Hadn't he? Gu Mengmeng blushed. Damn, Leader's tricks were as deep as the ocean. She was tricked by Elvis once again. Didn't they all say that foxes were the cunning ones? Why was it that Leah did not trick her? But Elvis was the one who made her speechless, and even felt a little excited. Just as Gu Mengmeng's little heart was beating wildly, she heard Sandy calling out her name in a wrong tone. "Gu Mengmeng." Gu Mengmeng peeked her head out from Elvis's arms to look at Sandy, only to see her looking at her with a wronged expression, looking extremely lovable. Gu Mengmeng took the opportunity to jump out from Elvis's arms and walk to Sandy, holding her little hand and asking, "What's wrong? Who made our adorable Sandy unhappy?" Sandy looked as if she wanted to cry, but was unable to do so, handing the fish in her hands to Gu Mengmeng. "Try it, Bode made it." Gu Mengmeng looked at the fish meat. The color was even and the heat was on point. The way it was prepared was obviously the same as hers. Even the position of the cross was fixed according to her grilled fish. It also smelled like the burnt smell of honey, and there was even some crystal clear honey hanging on the surface. It was obvious that another layer was applied after grilling. By right, this should have been specially made according to Sandy's preferences. But why did Sandy look like she was not satisfied? Gu Mingming tore off a small piece of meat and placed it in her mouth to have a taste. Once it entered her mouth, her brows furrowed tightly together. Buffed. See, Gu Mingming also finds it disgusting. Sandy was extremely furious. She had used up all the yellow gravy that Gu Mingming had given her just for this roasting water shuttle. But now, sob, I don't have any more yellow gravy. Am I going to be hungry today? Boo-hoo. Gu Mingming did not know whether to laugh or cry as she coaxed Sandy, the little foodie. She patted her back and comforted her. It's all right, it's just yellow gravy. I still have a lot with me. If it's not enough, I'll go look for more. With me around, how can I let my adorable Sandy starve? Really? Sandy looked up with a wronged expression and did not let go of Gu Mingming's waist. When she saw Gu Mingming nodding her head seriously, her tears turned into a smile. I knew that Gu Mingming treats me the best. I like you the most. Bode was so frustrated that he couldn't even lift his head. He had clearly followed Sandy's instructions, so why did she not like the things he made? They looked exactly the same. Gu Mingming didn't expose him. She just passed the fish Bode roasted to him and said, "Food cannot be wasted, you should eat it." Bode understood that Gu Mingming wanted him to taste the problem himself, so he didn't refuse and took a bite of the fish. The moment the meat entered his mouth, Bode's brows furrowed together. You clearly added a lot of yellow gravy, but why is it bitter? Aside from the topic, today is the last day of the PK. Those who haven't clicked on the collection button, please click on it. All the comments, please make use of the last moments of the morning to sprint. Today's question. Chapter 121. Gu Mingming smiled slyly. Eat the one you roasted first and I will tell you. Males in the beast world were not as delicate as females. What kind of tough bones had they not eaten before? This little bit of bitterness was nothing to Bode. In order to let Sandy eat delicious delicacies in the future, Bode sent the entire fish into his mouth without even blinking. He chewed a few times and swallowed it. Then he looked at Sandy with a pair of bright and piercing eyes, afraid to miss a single word. Gu Mingming gave her roasted fish to Sandy, then took a fresh one from the ground and let Bode cut open its stomach. She then pointed at one of the innards and said, "Do you see this? This is called the gall bladder. If you accidentally cut it open when you cut it open, then the taste of this fish will be the same as the one you just ate." Bode's eyes almost looked into the fish's stomach, even though the fishy smell made him choke. But for Sandy, he could endure anything. The other males looked at Gu Mingming, and the rest eating the fish, then looked at the jackals, wolves, tigers, and leopards in their hands. After hesitating for a while, no one dared to ask Gu Mingming how to eat these things under the pressure of Elvis. Thinking about how Gu Mingming said not to waste food, the males skinned their prey and ate it raw according to their usual habits. They looked at Gu Mingming while eating. It tasted better than usual even without any processing. But this made Gu Mingming pitiful. A bunch of beasts looked at her with green eyes while chewing on the tiger's head and wolf's claws. Their blood-red tongues licked their lips from time to time, scaring Gu Mingming so much that she almost ran away. Gu Mingming, who was shivering, leaned into Sandy's arms and buried her head into Sandy's shoulder to seek comfort. I will never ask everyone to gather for a meal again. Their table manners are too scary. Sandy shook her head and said, I will never invite everyone for a meal again. Sandy looked around while eating the roasted fish, saying emotionlessly, Isn't this how males eat? The males at my place don't eat like this. Gu Mingming wanted to cry but had no tears. Gu Mingming, tell me about your place. Sandy was extremely curious about Gu Mingming's previous tribe, so she touched the honey on her mouth and looked at Gu Mingming seriously as she requested. Yeah, sure. Gu Mingming thought for a while. She was a girl, and there were only two topics that were easiest to talk about, love and shopping. Looking around, he realized that there wasn't even a small town store. Shopping was out of the question. There was definitely no common topic, so he decided to talk about love. So Gu Mingming cleared her throat and started to tell Sandy about Korean dramas. Of course, she automatically replaced the male and female protagonists in the story with male and female, and the story she told originated from descendants of the sun. Gu Mingming held Sandy's little hand and looked into her eyes with deep affection. She asked in a tender voice, "Regarding kissing you without permission, should I confess or apologize?" Sandy clasped her hands in front of her chest and took a deep breath. She shrugged her round little shoulders and nodded like a chick pecking rice. She wanted to express something, but she realized that her vocabulary was limited by her imagination. This is too much. How can you kiss a female without permission? Moreover, he actually left the female alone at the rendezvous. This kind of male is too useless. Before Sandy could arrange a word to express the emotions in her heart, the meal had already been finished. The males who had transformed into humans had already gathered in a circle, each of them sitting around Gu Mingming to listen to her story, as if they were watching old movies in the old countryside. Aside from the topic, Chapter 122. The corners of Gu Mingming's mouth twitched as she laughed dryly. The biggest generation gap in the world was not from the present to the past, nor was it the fact that you did not know that I loved you when I was right in front of you. It was the gender gap. It was said that the difference between a man's chromosome and a woman's was even bigger than the difference between a man and a gorilla. In the past, Gu Mingming thought that it was nonsense, but now she believed it. Sandy had obviously become Yu Sijin's fangirl through the passage of time, so she protested. "What do you know, the tribe is in danger. Do you still want to continue the date and not protect the tribe?" The male who raised the question shrunk his neck, obviously not willing to make Sandy unhappy, so he hurriedly explained. "What I mean is, that male left the female alone at the dating spot and ran back to protect the tribe. What if the female is in danger? When there is no one around to protect her, how can he leave the female alone outside? Especially when the tribe is under attack." Before this male finished his sentence, another male followed up. "Yeah, if Saint Nazir is under attack, we will also fight to the death and be willing to sacrifice our lives to protect the tribe. But the aim of protecting the tribe is to not let the females be harmed. So every time a male has a female in his family, he will leave at least half of the males to protect his own female. For females like Sandy who only have 6 males, the tribe will send more powerful males to join in the protection ranks, leaving the female alone in a dangerous environment. This male really should not have done it." Hearing that, Sandy was also a little confused. She turned around to look at Gu Mingming and asked, "Then why did Yu Sijin leave Kong Moyan alone? Could it be to protect the other females in the tribe?" Gu Mingming smiled and shook her head, making up a version that did not belong to descendants of the sun. That battle was too cruel. He did not even know if he could return alive. If he brought Kong Moyan along, wouldn't it be equivalent to bringing her into danger too? Instead of dying together, wouldn't it be better to let one of them escape and survive? This question caused the entire place to sink into silence. This seemed to be a question that they had never thought of before, because the rules in the beast world were very simple. Attack or defend, win or lose. There was only life and death, success or failure. There was no option to send the females away first. But if they really met an opponent with a great disparity in strength, and even Elvis and Leah could not withstand a single blow from the enemy, then they could send the tribe's females away first, and come back to fight with their lives on the line, buying more time for them to escape. As long as they could escape to any tribe, they would be well taken care of. That way. Elvis, however, felt a tug in his heart. He pulled Gu Mingming back into his arms and said in a voice dripping with blood, "The reason why you're still not announcing your first partner is because you're waiting for him to come back, right?" Huh. Gu Mingming's spine stiffened, completely unable to keep up with Elvis's pace. "Wait for who? Your original tribe met with a strong enemy. In order to protect you, he sent you away first and let you escape alone, while he went back to delay the enemy to buy time for you. That's why you appeared in that pond alone, and was met by me, right? Elvis did not even dare to look at Gu Mingming's eyes. His heart was in so much pain from being torn apart. It had nothing to do with jealousy, nothing to do with family status. It was just that his heart ached for her to encounter such cruelty in her original tribe. Aside from the topic, this is the last chapter of the PK period. The PK will end this afternoon. Once the results are out, I will immediately share the results with everyone through the author's post. No matter what, thank you all for your support along the way, helping me to comment and come up with questions for the past few days. It's been hard on everyone. Chapter 123. This is what you wanted to tell me just now, right? Elvis pressed Gu Mingming against his chest and hugged her tightly. He felt that this was the only way to soothe the burning pain in his chest. It's all right. From today onwards, I will protect you and take care of you. I will not let you suffer any harm, even if I have to sacrifice my life. If one day he comes, I can give up the position of first partner to him. Gu Mingming did not know whether to laugh or cry. She did not expect that one day, she and Yu Sijin would form a couple. This was simply a beautiful bubbling joke. No, leader, you've misunderstood. This is someone else's story. I've already said that the female lead is called Kong Moyan, not Gu Mingming. Your understanding really makes one's heart ache. These few days, you looked like you had a lot on your mind. It must be because of this. Elvis's words were not a question but a statement. In his heart, he had already confirmed that Gu Mingming was the female lead in the story she told. Especially when he thought of how she cried during her coming-of-age ceremony. He was even more certain that she cried then, because the male called Yu Sijin did not come. If she really hoped that Yu Sijin would guard the tower for her, then the position of first partner would naturally not belong to him, Elvis. No wonder she had always been vague, and refused to publicly acknowledge him as the first partner. So this position was left for that person. The more he thought about it, the more Elvis's heart ached. He hated himself for not meeting her earlier. Why did he let that Yu Sijin snatch it before him? I swear, I'm really not Kong Moyan. Although I know Yu Sijin, he doesn't know me at all. This is really just a story. If I'm lying, let the beast deity bring me away. Gu Mingming finished her sentence in one breath, then took a deep breath and said, And leader, if you don't let go, my waist will be broken by you. Elvis then realized the strength in his hand, and hurriedly let go of Gu Mingming. He frowned and said, Let me see, are you hurt? Gu Mingming's breathing was finally smooth. She held onto Elvis's arm and bent over to catch her breath for a while before saying, I'm fine, luckily you let go in time. Elvis's brows formed a dead knot. Now that he knew that there was a strong opponent, he had to lose his sense of propriety and fear an enemy that had yet to appear. This was really not Elvis's style, but as it concerned Gu Mingming, he could not suppress the uncertainty in his heart. It's okay, I was just joking. Look, I'm fine. Gu Mingming noticed his low spirits and patted his shoulders. Leader, Yu Sijin really has nothing to do with me. Even if I know him, he has already mated with Kong Moyan. There is a mountain range in the Himalayas between us. That is a gap that cannot be crossed. It is impossible for us to have any interaction in this lifetime, so don't worry about it. All right. However, Elvis's brows did not relax because of Gu Mingming's words. Instead, his ruthless aura lingered in the air. Even someone like Gu Mingming, who was slow to react, could feel a strong murderous intent. Is it because he chose Kong Moyan and abandoned you that you wandered alone in the dangerous forest? Elvis only felt his heart tremble. If he had not found her in time, how long would she have to soak in that pool? What if she met a wild beast? What if she met a stray orc? The more he thought about it, the more terrified he became. Elvis clenched his fists tightly and said, Where is he? I will kill him to avenge you. Aside from the topic, good news, 112p was over. Next, it was time for the daily routine of stable updates and recommendations. Then, little babies who want to eat meat, please join the group. 4927792773 Clear Soup Novel Lovers. Little pure babies who want a 1v1. Please don't join. The taste in the group is a little heavy and may not suit you. Chapter 124. Gu Mingming was dumbfounded and only understood what was going on after a long while. She immediately rolled on the ground and burst into laughter, so much so that a pig squealed. Elvis was a little dazed by her laughter, but his anger gradually dissipated with her laughter. Leah rushed back after treating Adali's wound, but was stopped by Nina's partner on the way back to treat the wound on Nina's neck and Quentin. Leah could tell that Nina's injury was caused by Elvis at first glance. In the past, no matter how angry he had never really hurt a female. This time, he was forced to the point that he could not hold it in anymore. Nina must have provoked Gu Mingming. Thinking about this, Leah secretly added some yellow root into the medicine that he applied on Nina. Seeing Nina crying out from the spiciness, Leah just smiled like a deity and thought to himself, "Serves you right for provoking my Gu Mingming." But after he finished, Leah was stunned again. He actually intervened in the affairs between females? And in such a childish way. Gu Mingming's influence was really not to be underestimated. Thinking about this, Leah wanted to return to Gu Mingming's side even more. Even if they had not mated yet, his instincts told him that being by her side was his home. When he rushed back, he saw Gu Mingming rolling on the ground, while laughing so hard that she could not straighten her back. He did not even know what she was laughing about, but the corners of his lips curled up on his own accord, and his gaze turned soft like a puddle of water. Leah walked to Gu Mingming's side and carried her up from the ground. He patted the dirt off her while saying, "What made you laugh like this? Tell me about it too." "Daddy Leah." Gu Mingming's cheeks were sore from laughing so much that she barely stopped her exaggerated laughter when she saw Leah. She held on to Lee's shoulders and said while shaking her shoulders to hold back her laughter, "Leader thinks that I have an affair with you, Jean, and is going to silence me now." Leah raised his brows and savored this name that he had never heard before. "You, Jean?" "Yeah." Gu Mingming still could not hold it in. The more she wanted to stop laughing, the more she wanted to laugh. She turned into vibrating mode in Lee's arms. Leah looked at Elvis and said gently, "Together?" "Uft." Finally, Gu Mingming burst out in laughter once again. The entire sky above Saint Nazaire reverberated with her laughter. Ha 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 ha. When Gu Mingming was finally done laughing, she forcefully waved her hands and said, "What do I have to say to make you believe that this is really just a story? It has nothing to do with me." Elvis and Leah exchanged glances before nodding. "As long as you say it, we will believe you." No matter how suspicious they were, even if Jean appeared before their eyes, as long as Gu Mingming said no, they would believe it. Gu Mingming shook her head and sighed. It was obvious that the two of them did not believe her but were stubborn. But it couldn't be helped. You could never wake someone who was pretending to be asleep. Could you? As long as you believe me. As long as you believe me. Gu Mingming thought that time would prove everything. Since she could not explain to them what a television series was, she could only let time dilute everything. After a while, when the legendary Jean did not appear, they would naturally forget about it. Gu Mingming jumped down from Lee's arms and prepared to roast another fish for Leah to eat. But the moment she pulled Lee's hand, she smelled a familiar scent. Gu Mingming stared at Leah with her innocent and clear doe-like eyes. She raised his wrist and asked, "Daddy Leah, hurry, tell me, what did you touch just now?" Aside from the topic, thank you to the little baby from Xiaoxiang Academy, Obedient 54264 Lei, for sending flowers during the PK period in reply to QQ reading, so we all understand our own fate. Baby, I saw your answers and they were all correct. This proves that you are a little baby who reads novels seriously, but I don't have a backhand at QQ reading, so I can't set up a reward. I'll give you a love hug as compensation in reply to QQ reading, Guiku. Lee's original form is a snow fox and has nothing to do with unicorns. Chapter 125. Leah brought his hand to the tip of his nose in confusion and sniffed. It was the faint smell of yellow roots, left behind when he was pranking Nina. His deep gaze was filled with uneasiness. Could it be that Gu Mingming found out that he had interfered in the affairs between females? Li's expression did not change, but he started to feel uneasy inside. He said calmly, "Yellow roots. Where is it? Is there more? Give me some, please." Gu Mingming held on to Li's forearm tightly, and with every short sentence, she got closer to Leah. By the time she finished her last word, her entire body was almost stuck to the tip of Li's nose. Leah was a little overwhelmed by Gu Mingming's sudden enthusiasm. That yellow roots was not a rare item. Why was she so anxious about it? But since she liked it, why couldn't he dig out the back mountain of Saint Nazir? "Yes, I have as much as you want." Leah smiled gently and rubbed Gu Mingming's little head. Then, he consciously transformed his white and fluffy big tail and swayed it in front of Gu Mingming. Then he accidentally let Gu Mingming pounce on him, and that big tail was hugged by Gu Mingming half-willingly as she stroked it back and forth. Leah did not mind that Gu Mingming's hands were stained with the fishy smell. He just watched her play with indulgence and pampering while building a new fire by the stream with Elvis. Then, Elvis handled the raw fish while explaining Gu Mingming's method to Leah. Leah referred to Bode's diligent roasting process at the side, and combined with Elvis's description, he tried to roast a fish. He tore a small piece of fish meat and sent it into his mouth. Yeah, there was no strange taste, so it could be given to Gu Mingming. "Gu Mingming, come, open your mouth." Leah blew a small piece of meat without the fish bones until it was warm, and sent it to Gu Mingming's mouth, who was having a great time playing with the tail. Gu Mingming opened her mouth obediently. Once the fish meat entered her mouth, Gu Mingming's eyes lit up, and her innocent big eyes were filled with surprise. She looked at Leah and praised, "Daddy Leah, you're really a master chef. This fish is crispy on the outside and tender on the inside. The combination of the honey and the fish is just right. It's the best in the world." If not for the fact that she was hugging Big Tail and had no time, Gu Mingming really wanted to give Leah 10086 likes. Leah especially enjoyed Gu Mingming's exaggerated praise. No matter how many times he heard it, he would always enjoy it. So he handed the roasted fish to Elvis and let him feed Gu Mingming, while he turned around to deal with the second fish. His Mingming was really too skinny. Since it was what she liked to eat, he would prepare more for her. She had to admit that Li's hands were really fast. In the time it took for Gu Mingming to eat half a fish, he had already roasted 7 to 8 fish. Gu Mingming was in awe of Leah, who was looking at 7 to 8 barbecue grills at the same time. Was he a newbie who had just come into contact with fire? He must be a new graduate from New Oriental. But when Leah placed the 7 to 8 large fishes in front of her, indicating for her to eat, Gu Mingming was petrified. "Daddy Leah, I'm full." Leah frowned and pursed his thin lips, asking, "You ate so little?" Gu Mingming nodded, indicating that her appetite was only so big. She had already eaten half a fish, which was at least 1.5 caddies. Firstly, she was very hungry today. Secondly, Li's culinary skills were really not bad. Moreover, the original fish tasted fresh and delicious. If it was any other time, she would not be able to swallow so much. Aside from the topic, thank you baby Yu Xingmeng for the diamond. Congratulations to baby for becoming the first Tong Sheng in this novel, after the 112p. It was time to wait for the recommendation process. During this period, Jean would ensure a stable daily update until all the recommendations were completed. The editor originally said that it could be published now, but because Jean had promised her babies that she would let Elvis take up the position before it was published, so that everyone could eat more meat. So after discussing with the editor, the result was an inverted V of 300,000 words for this novel. So here comes the problem. Babies, if you have the time, please don't keep reading. Because when I publish it, the parts you are reading now will all be paid content. Parts after 100,000 words are all VIP chapters. Chapter 126. Leah did not force Gu Mingming and just said, "Then I'll bring these back and you can eat them later when you're hungry." Gu Mingming waved her hands and said, No. The fish won't taste good when it's cold. You and Elvis have been taking care of me all this while, and you guys haven't eaten yet. You two should eat it. Elvis and Leah looked at the fish, and then at Gu Ming Ming, thinking that there were so many of these in the water, that even if everyone in Saint Nazaire ate them together, they would not be able to finish them in 3 to 5 years. Although the yellow gravy was rare, Gu Ming Ming seemed to have a way to obtain it without bloodshed. Since Bode and Colin could help Gu Ming Ming get so much yellow gravy, it was even easier for the two of them. Since the ingredients were not rare, they did not reject it. The two of them ate the few big fish, and exchanged their thoughts while eating, discussing how to improve next time. Gu Ming Ming's tummy was already round, so she clapped her hands, and went to play with Sandy. It was not difficult to find Sandy among the crowd. After all, other than Nina, who was thrown out by Elvis, there were only Gu Ming Ming, Nina, and that unknown female left in Saint Nazaire. Disregarding the unfamiliar female, Sandy had always been on good terms with Gu Ming Ming, and Bode also wanted Gu Ming Ming to teach him how to roast fish, so their fire pit was not far from Gu Ming Ming. When Gu Ming Ming came to Sandy's side, she saw a sullen Sandy and a badly battered Bode. One was pouting unhappily, while the other was circling around the fire with a face full of soot and soot. "What's wrong?" Gu Ming Ming sat beside Sandy and asked. Sandy twitched her lips and said, "I'm hungry." Gu Ming Ming turned to look at Bode, who had been busy all this while, and asked, "How long has he been like this?" Sandy replied, "He has been like this since just now, but not a single water shuttle can be eaten." "Gu Ming Ming, I'm so hungry. Can you roast another one for me? Just one." Gu Ming Ming rolled up her sleeves, and was about to agree when Leah carried her up and said, "Gu Ming Ming is also a female, and needs to be taken care of just like you. If you're not satisfied with Bode's skills, you might as well give other males a chance." Once Leah finished speaking, the surrounding males hurriedly offered their treasures. "Sandy, why don't you try what I roasted?" Leah did not say anything more, and just carried Gu Ming Ming towards Elvis's cave. After walking for a certain distance, he then said, "If Sandy becomes more and more reliant on you, it will not be a good thing for her." "Why?" Gu Ming Ming was confused. "Isn't it just a fish? It's not a big deal if I roast it for her. I can't let her starve. After all, she's a precious female. The way you make food is very special. To learn it requires time and talent. Bode and the rest obviously don't have this talent. But if Sandy becomes picky because of your food, and Bode and the rest can't make food as delicious as you, do you want to keep preparing food for Sandy?" Lee's voice was very gentle, with the effect of comforting her. Gu Ming Ming did not reject Lee's words, but the thought of Sandy's aggrieved look made her heart ache. Chapter 127. No, I don't think so. Gu Ming Ming had never thought that her care for Sandy would cost her life. She was in disbelief, but seeing that Leah did not look like he was joking, she could only sigh and say, "All right, I know. Then find some time to teach Bode and the rest. I feel that your skills are excellent, as long as they can learn half of your skills." "Oh, no, as long as they learn 30% of your skills, Sandy would not have a stomach ache." Leah smiled and nodded, agreeing to it. Returning to Elvis's cave, Leah found a brand new set of clothes from the depths of the cave. "The one you're wearing is dirty. Take it off and change into another." Gu Ming Ming lowered her head to take a look. She was indeed covered in fish scales. She did not need to sniff closely to smell the fishy smell. Even she could not stand it, not to mention Elvis and Leah, who had an extremely sensitive sense of smell. Gu Ming Ming laughed awkwardly, took the new clothes from Lee's hands and looked at it. "Eh? Another new one? Where's my rabbit skin dress from the last time?" "I threw it away," Elvis answered easily. Gu Ming Ming's lips twitched. Threw it away? Why?" "It's dirty," Elvis answered concisely. F******. Gu Ming Ming exclaimed, hugging the deer-skin dress on her tightly, refusing to take it off no matter what. "It's shameful to waste it. Clothes that can be worn again after washing. How can you throw it away just like that? Too much, too much. What a waste of resources." Elvis and Leah looked at each other, feeling helpless towards Gu Ming Ming's thoughts. This girl did not even frown when she shared the precious yellow sauce in the beast world with everyone. But this beast skin, which could be taken anywhere, was extremely precious to her. Leah carried Gu Mingming up, measuring the new clothes while saying, "There are only 4 females in the tribe, but 127 males. Even if the females change into 5 sets of new clothes every day, the tribe still has to throw away a lot of the food and fur used." Food and fur, Gu Mingming recalled the food that the males ate today: tiger, cheetah, snow fox. Both of them were top-grade furs. Things that were hard to find in the modern world had become disposable items in this world. No wonder Elvis could throw away his beast skin dress without feeling the slightest bit of heartache. Gu Mingming's heart skipped a beat. Forgive her for being a commoner, an especially greedy commoner. Gu Mingming felt her heart bleeding as she thought about how she had thrown away all those precious animal skins. Cupping her hands, Gu Mingming looked up at the sky and let out a long sigh. "Beast deity, don't bother about other people's divorce. Can you find some time to manage your people's extravagant lifestyle?" "What's wrong? Are you feeling unwell?" Elvis asked with concern. "Yeah." Gu Mingming nodded twice, pretending to be serious. "Where do you feel uncomfortable? Let me see." Leah placed the clothes at the side and walked up with concern to hold Gu Mingming's little hand that was covering her heart. He wanted to see if she was injured anywhere. Gu Mingming shook her head and said, "When I heard that you wanted to throw my clothes away, my entire body ached, especially my heart. As long as you promise not to throw my clothes away, I won't feel any pain." Leah could not understand at all. What kind of illness was this? He looked at Elvis, waiting for him to make a decision. Elvis was much calmer than Leah. Thinking about how she cherished the luminous pearl, he had a rough idea of what was going on. He nodded and said, "As you wish, don't throw it away, then don't throw it away. I'll dig a hole just for you to put the clothes you've worn before. How about that?" Aside from the topic, thank you to QQ reader Doryman and Xian for the reading tokens. Thank you very much. Replying to QQ reader's comments, Blue Sky Ancient Rhyme said that she hated NPC literature. So dear, please don't join the QQ group and just read the main content posted by Jeaner. The main content is a 1v1. I'll leave the rest of the content in the group as an extra to satisfy the little babies who like NPC literature. Songstress, the content you want to read will be posted in the QQ group in the future. Dear, you can join the group and wait to share it. QQ group number 49277927 inch. I'm not a beauty. Dear, I've seen your opinion, it's the same as mine. Please join the QQ group. You'll find your comrades. Elvis could not think of anything else. He only knew that if he did not hug Gu Mingming in his arms, the invisible wound on the left side of his chest could take his life. "Elvis, you're hurting me." Gu Mingming could empathize with how upset Elvis was feeling, because his hug made her feel the same way. His heartbeat was clearly transmitted to her through his clothes. Every single one of her senses was telling her that she had done such a cruel thing. So much so that Gu Mingming felt an extremely strong sense of guilt. As if she did not reject Elvis, but rather abandoned him. The kind that abandoned him after messing around with him. Aside from the topic, Elvis, Gu Mingming, why did you reject me? I provided food, lodging and play with you. I'm handsome and handsome. Why did you reject me? Gu Mingming, your thinking is very dangerous. Elvis, why? Gu Mingming, you're attracting green tea easily. Elvis, what's green tea? Gu Mingming, eating your food, drinking your lodging, playing with your feelings and ravaging your body. Then telling you I only treat you as a friend. Elvis, then you can be green tea, I don't mind. Chapter 129. Elvis heard Gu Mingming's cry of pain, but he could not control his trembling arms. He did not dare to loosen even the slightest bit, afraid that Gu Mingming would disappear like a cloud of smoke, never to be found again. Elvis. Gu Mingming could already hear the sound of her bones being hugged. She could not bring herself to criticize him, so she could only call out Elvis's name again. Xiaoming, don't leave me, Elvis said. Gu Mingming remained silent. How could she promise something she could not do? I won't fight for the first partner position. Before you forget him. I don't ask for cubs. I don't ask for partners. I don't even want a title. I only ask for you to stay by my side and let me take care of you. Don't go, don't go. Gu Mingming paused for a while, before realizing that the him Elvis was referring to was probably Yu Xijin. While feeling helpless, she also heaved a sigh of relief. Although he was a made-up character, he still solved her urgent problem. She would not be at a disadvantage if she paired up with Song Joong-ki. Since Elvis was sure that she could not forget her old love, and promised not to XXO with her before she forgot him, then as long as Elvis's feelings for her faded, he would naturally give up on the thought of mating with her. Men, aren't they all like that? How much infatuation could they have? Thinking about this, Gu Mingming squeezed her eyes hard to make herself look like she was about to cry, pretending to be hurt. All right, before I let him go, you can't force me. As long as you do what you say, I won't leave. Really? Elvis used his height advantage to pull his upper body back a little, lowering his head to stare into Gu Mingming's clear eyes, as if this was the only way for him to believe Gu Mingming's promise. Not leaving. Gu Mingming nodded her head cautiously, then smiled in a comforting manner. I just don't want to mate. Putting this aside, I still like Saint Nazaire very much. You and Leah treat me very well. And there's also the cute Sandy. I promised her that I would make all sorts of delicacies for her. If I leave just like that, she will definitely cry and say that I did not keep my promise. I can't bear to see my baby Sandy cry. As Gu Mingming said that, she pulled herself out from Elvis's arms and continued. But since I can't mate with you, I can't accept your care for nothing. There were things I could do in exchange for my food and a place to live. Freeloading is not my style. Elvis wanted to say, it is enough that you can stay. But before he could open his mouth, Leah came in from outside and answered for Elvis. All right, first teach me how you brought Barit back to life? Teaching me, the witch doctor of the tribe, would be considered a great contribution to Saint Nazaire. In return, I, the witch doctor, and Elvis, the tribe leader, will be responsible for your food and daily necessities for the entire winter. How about that? Gu Mingming heaved a sigh of relief when she saw Leah. With only her and Elvis, the atmosphere was too awkward. Now that there was one more person, it felt much more relaxed. Smiling, Gu Mingming waved her hands and said, how is it brought back to life? Barit did not die in the first place. He just fainted from dehydration after not eating or drinking for 3 days. He just needed to replenish some water, and he would naturally wake up. But then again, Barit's body is really strong. He could actually walk after drinking a few mouthfuls of water. If it was us, he would have to stay in the hospital for a few days to recuperate. Aside from the topic, thank you for the tips from QQ Reading, Emo Shang, and Doryman. Chapter 130. The platform of the deity's punishment was rarely activated, and it was unprecedented for someone to come back to life after fainting on the platform of the deity's punishment. But in Gu Mingming's mouth, it was a small matter not worth mentioning. Leah held back his smile. Although time was short, he was already used to Gu Mingming's uniqueness. He just smiled and said, all right, since you've already taught me, it counts as a contribution to Saint Nazaire. Can you stay with a clear conscience now? This doesn't count. Gu Mingming shook her head and said, this is just a simple basic knowledge. Using this sentence to exchange for a whole winter's food and lodging, this deal is too unfair. Such an obviously biased deal. Even if you signed a contract, you won't be protected by the law, all right? Leah did not understand what signing a contract was, and even more did not know what legal protection was. But he could roughly understand what Gu Mingming meant. It was a matter of course for other females to accept the care of males. Even if they were not their partners, they could still order them around easily without any return. In the eyes of females, ordering you around was already a huge favor. How could there be a need to talk about return? Ha, what a joke! And in the eyes of males it was the same. Gu Mingming was after all different. Leah thought for a while and replied, "You saved Barit's life, so he will prepare your food for this winter as repayment. As for the other daily necessities, Elvis and I will be in charge. You're not allowed to say no, or else we'll be sad Leah hooked Gu Mingming's chin lightly and lifted it slightly. That charming yet seductive smile was so close to her that Gu Mingming swallowed her saliva. It was not Gu Mingming's style to disappoint a beauty. Moreover, Elvis and Leah would provide lodging and Barit would provide food. To a rookie in the wilderness like Gu Mingming, this was the basic guarantee for survival. Although it was too perfunctory to only use a sentence as a condition, but she could consciously do something to repay them. Why did she have to make it so clear with words? Gu Mingming thought about it and nodded her head while squinting her eyes, saying, all right, I'll listen to Daddy Leah." Elvis, who was standing at the side, was expressionless. He felt very uncomfortable, not knowing if it was because Gu Mingming could not bear to part with Jean, or because there was going to be one more Barit in this family. But he could still tolerate all this, as long as Gu Mingming did not leave. Elvis heaved a sigh of relief and nodded at Leah, expressing his gratitude with his eyes. Leah was clearly better at communicating with Gu Mingming. Leah returned a smile. Without words, they could clearly read each other's thoughts from their eyes. They were all males who had yet to gain Gu Mingming's approval. That unknown Jean was obviously a strong opponent. At this time, they had to unite all the powers that could be united, so that they could make Gu Mingming stay when that male came looking for them one day. So although losing Barit was a very unpleasant thing, it was better than letting Jean snatch Gu Mingming away. However, Gu Mingming did not understand the meaning of the eye contact between Elvis and Leah. She just felt a sense of relief, as though a shackle had been removed from her body after she had explained everything clearly. Without any worries, she then noticed what Leah had been holding in his hand. Wasn't that what she wanted? "Daddy Leah, is this for me?" Gu Mingming asked, but she had already snatched the item from Lee's hand. She held it in front of her eyes and looked at it carefully. Then, she brought it to the tip of her nose and smelled it seriously. She could not be wrong. She could not be wrong. This was exactly what she wanted. Aside from the topic. Good news. I've received notification from the editor that this article will be PK on QQ reading from the 5th of December to the 8th of December. If we win the PK, we will receive more recommendations. So Jintai Steel will add more updates to repay the babies for their support. Babies who are using QQ reading to catch up on the article, please do not read the article in these 3 days, and catch up with the updates every day. And those recommendation tickets, the free ones, please give them to Jeaner. Thank you. If there are babies who want to reward Jeaner, please do so within these 3 days, because it will definitely affect the PK results. As for messages, I don't need to say it, right? If you love me, tell me loudly. Chapter 131. Leah looked at Gu Mingming's face that was full of curiosity, and could not help but smile. His gaze was filled with tenderness as he replied, "Yeah, the scent you smelled on my hand just now was from it. You recognize it?" Gu Mingming grinned till her teeth could not be seen. She nodded and said, "Yes, of course I recognize it. This is Ginger." Ginger? Leah savored the word. Although the name was different, Gu Mingming did not look like she recognized it wrongly. From honey, bees to fish, she had already given many different names. As such, Leah was no longer surprised by the new words that came out of Gu Mingming's mouth. He just thought that maybe he should get used to Gu Mingming's way of addressing things and accommodate her habits, so that her life would be more comfortable. So, Leah did not correct Gu Mingming's wording, and did not tell her that in the beast world, this thing was called yellow root. Yeah, if you use this to cook fish, you can remove the fishy smell. When the time comes, you can cook a big pot of it. It's fragrant, warm, and convenient. Gu Mingming gestured as she spoke. But as she gestured, her little face suddenly collapsed and she said, "What a pity, there isn't even a pot here. I shouldn't have gone to learn business management. Wouldn't it be better if I knew metallurgy? Then I would know how to forge iron and cast a pot now." "Pot?" Elvis continued Gu Mingming's sentence. He did not like her frowning look, and could not stand her disappointment and regret. If she wanted it, he would never back down even if he had to fight with the beast deity. Gu Mingming nodded, and her cheeks puffed up like buns. She said, "You all ate raw meat in the past, so you definitely don't need this thing. But I really need it. My stomach can't take eating barbecue every day. Where can I find a pot?" "I'll help you find it," Elvis said. "There shouldn't be one here." Gu Mingming sighed, and decided to give up helplessly. But Leah circled his large tail, and placed Gu Mingming at the base of his tail for her to sit steadily. His furry large tail formed an angle like a sofa for Gu Mingming to nestle comfortably. He sat sideways on the floor and played with Gu Mingming's hair while asking, "Tell us, what does a pot look like? Maybe we have it here too, just with a different name?" Gu Mingming had never been immune to Li's big tail. Once she hugged his tail and stroked his fur, she basically did not think before speaking. She would answer whatever Leah asked. A pot is a container for cooking. It can be roasted over a fire. It's usually made of metal. But now, even if you give me a piece of iron, I don't know how to smelt it. So it's impossible for me to make a pot. Leah and Elvis exchanged glances, clearly not knowing what metal was. Elvis was confident in Li's communication skills, so he did not interrupt, and just stood quietly at the side, waiting for him to continue asking. Leah asked, "Other than iron, are there any other wok materials?" Gu Mingming thought about it seriously and replied, "There's also a stainless steel pot." "Oh right, there's also a pot made of stone. The Koreans use it to mix rice. But we also need steel tools to cut the stone. So we can't make a pot without iron. Sigh, I've been eating barbecue every day, and my throat is starting to hurt." After Gu Mingming finished speaking, she pouted her lips to express her dissatisfaction. But there was nothing she could do. However, Elvis and Leah exchanged a look, and both of them revealed a smile of tacit understanding. Aside from the topic, replying to QQ Reading Reader, "Little darling, forgive me for not being able to type out the emoji you used for your name. But thank you so much, darling, for writing the little drama for me. Reader 1 and Reader 2's conversation is very heartwarming. Thank you for your consideration. I might not be replying to your messages these few days, because I need to hurry up and prepare for the PK in the book city. If I write one more chapter now, I can write one more chapter later." Chapter 132. When Gu Mingming regained her senses from the joy of playing with her tail, a stone pot that was similar to the one she had unintentionally described appeared in front of her. Gu Mingming blinked her innocent and clear big eyes, and stared at the pot for a long time. She slapped her thigh fiercely and said, "Let's go and find Sandy to eat together." Forgive her for being mesmerized by Li's fluffy and white large tail. She had clearly discussed the big pot with them before. And from what she remembered, Elvis seemed to have made a few versions for her to see. But she seemed to be an outsider, and was completely out of it. Her heart was completely focused on Li's large tail that was wagging. Gu Mingming only came back to her senses when Leah kept his tail. But at this moment, Elvis's big pot was already done. Gu Mingming looked at the big pot, that could be used as a bathtub happily. She thought to herself, "This time, Leah will not stop me from preparing food for Sandy, right? It was just putting more ingredients into her own cooking, and sharing some with Sandy." With that thought, Gu Mingming went up to carry the stone pot out, but, ouch! Gu Mingming misjudged her own strength, and used too much strength. The pot did not move at all. Gu Mingming held onto her waist and said, "My old waist, it's going to break." Leah pulled her little hand over, and placed her on his knees. A pair of slender and bony hands gently pressed onto her waist area. He used a great amount of strength and said while rubbing, "You're obviously a female, but you're always trying to show off. Do you think Elvis and I are just decorations? You even want to carry things by yourself? Are we so unreliable?" "I didn't mean it that way." Gu Mingming smiled apologetically and said, "I don't want to trouble others for things that I can solve myself. Or else, you guys will be bothering me soon." "Silly girl. We will never be bothering you. Leah held Gu Mingming's little hand gently and kissed the back of her hand. He looked up into her eyes and said affectionately, "It's our honor to be able to take care of you. Give us such an opportunity, all right?" Leah nodded. Gu Mingming felt that her nose was about to bleed again. She pinched her nose with one hand and looked up. "Daddy Leah, you broke the rules." "Oh." Leah glanced sideways, looking at Gu Mingming with an expression of, "I'm eager to hear more." Gu Mingming said, "You can't put your devilish face too close to me. I'm afraid I won't be able to control myself and pounce on you." However, Leah suddenly smiled and opened his arms wide. He retracted his chin slightly and said with a lustful smile, "It's my pleasure. You don't have to stand on ceremony." Puff! Gu Mingming widened her eyes and pointed at Lee's feet, shouting, "Daddy Leah, you've lost your integrity." Leah looked down, and there was nothing beside his feet. He shook his head and said, "There's nothing." Gu Mingming laughed out loud and pointed at Leah. "You also know that you have no morals." Leah indeed did not know what moral integrity was. But from Gu Mingming's expression, he should have been mocked, right? If it was in the past, he would have maintained a calm smile and tortured the other party until he regretted being born in this world. But at this moment he only felt his heart soften. It was clearly something he should be angry about, but the corners of his lips could not help but rise along with her smile. Facing Gu Mingming, he actually did not even have the ability to be angry. Aside from the topic, babies, there are still 2 more days before we start our explosive update on the 5th. Are you guys ready? Chapter 133. In the end, Gu Mingming brought the stone pot to Sandy as she wished. However, she sat in the pot while Elvis and Leah carried her from each side of the pot. Gu Mingming mocked herself along the way. So this was the feeling of sitting in the pot. It was clearly something she was familiar with, but when she looked at it from such a position, it still felt so novel. When Gu Mingming reached Sandy's cave, Elvis quietly stopped a distance away from the cave and handed the pot and Gu Mingming over to Leah. Gu Mingming tilted her head and asked, "Leader, aren't you going with me?" Elvis smiled and patted Gu Mingming's little head, replying, "Although I am the leader of Saint Nazir, I still have to abide by the rules of territorial division." Gu Mingming then remembered that even if they were from the same tribe, they still had the concept of territorial division. So she turned back to look at Leah, saying, "Then is it not convenient for you to go in too? Why don't you two wait here for me? I will go in and call Sandy out. Then we can go somewhere else to cook." Leah smiled elegantly. "I am a witch doctor. I am not restricted by territorial restrictions. Moreover, Adali's injuries look quite serious. I can go over and take a look at him." Adali. Gu Mingming was stunned for 3 seconds. She thought for a while before recalling that it was one of Sandy's partners. Because Sandy defended her, he got into an argument with Nina and was severely injured by Nina's partner. Yes, no matter what, he was injured because of me. I should show my condolences." As Gu Mingming said that, she wanted to jump out of the pot and run toward Sandy's cave. But the moment her feet touched the ground, Leah grabbed onto her arm. With just a little force, Gu Mingming fell backwards into Lee's arms. Looking up at Leah, who was hugging her with one hand, Gu Mingming felt as if she could see countless pink bubbles surrounding them. So when the male and female leads suddenly hugged each other in idol dramas, that rotating slow-motion scene and accompaniment really existed. Adali was injured because of Sandy, not you. You don't have to care too much about him, because I will be jealous. Gu Mingming nodded her head in confusion. She felt a tinge of sweetness in her heart, and the only thought in her mind was, perhaps, dating in the beast world is not bad. If the other party is Leah. Leah seemed to have seen something in Gu Mingming's eyes. He could not explain it clearly, but it made his mood extremely good. He liked the way Gu Mingming looked at him, as if she belonged to him. Leah carried the stone pot with one hand and hugged Gu Mingming with the other. This setup of a village woman did not diminish his demonic and fairy-like aura at all. Perhaps it was because of his occupation. The stone pot in his hands was like a magical instrument used for sacrificial rituals, and not a cooking tool. Before Leah reached the entrance of Sandy's cave, Sandy had already come out to welcome him. She did not look too good, and when she saw Gu Mingming, she forced a smile and greeted, "Gu Mingming, you're here." Gu Mingming could not bear to see Sandy suffer, so she hurriedly jumped down from Lee's arms and pounced towards Sandy. In her heart, she gave herself a big thumbs up for not choosing a lover over a friend. "What's wrong? Did you not eat your fill just now? I just brought some new tools over. Let's cook something to eat together, alright?" Sandy looked at the things in Lee's hands that she had never seen before. As a foodie, this was the first time she was not interested in eating. She just pulled Gu Mingming's hand and said, "Can you help me request Leah to take a look at Adali again? He's very badly injured." Aside from the topic, thank you to Xiaoxiang Academy's little darling Xiao Rui Nina for the flowers, reply to QQ Reader Blue Sky Ancient Rhyme for the main text of this article. Babies who cannot accept the NPC plot, do not join the reader group, and just read the main text here. You can also communicate with Jean, by leaving a message on QQ Reader or Xiaoxiang Academy's works. Jean will read all the messages. Babies who want to see the NPC plot, please join the QQ group to read the content sent in the form of an extra. Chapter 134. Daddy Leah, let's go in and take a look. Gu Mingming held onto Sandy's little hand and turned to plead with Leah. Leah rubbed Gu Mingming's little head and said, "As you wish." "That's great. Thank you, Gu Mingming." Sandy heaved a sigh of relief, and a smile appeared on her face. Gu Mingming and Sandy walked into the cave side by side, with Leah following behind them. The moment she entered the cave, Gu Mingming smelled a strong stench of blood. She frowned and felt as if something was rolling in her stomach. The bloody scene from the coming-of-age ceremony replayed in her mind. Gu Mingming shuddered, and a chill ran down her spine, causing her hair to stand on end. "Gu Mingming, what's wrong?" Sandy held onto Gu Mingming's hand and was the first to notice her abnormality. Leah carried Gu Mingming with one arm and used his large tail to wrap around her tiny body. He comforted her gently. "Don't worry, Gu Mingming, I'm here." Lee's furry tail and the warmth in his arms successfully soothed Gu Mingming's uneasiness. She wrapped her little arms around Lee's neck and nodded at his long and affectionate eyes. Then, she buried her little head into Lee's neck and used his unique scent to disperse the blood stench in her nose. Feeling Lee's body temperature, Gu Mingming's emotions slowly relaxed. Seeing that Gu Mingming had regained her composure, Leah said to Sandy, "Ask your partners to carry a dolly out. The smell here is too horrible, I can't stand it." With that, Leah carried Gu Mingming out of the cave. Seeing the sunlight, Gu Mingming's mood finally calmed down. She looked at Sandy in embarrassment, feeling as if she was visiting a patient in the hospital and telling the patient, "I'm here to visit you, but the smell of the hospital is too strong. I don't like it, so come to the coffee shop outside the hospital and let me visit you." More importantly, the person being visited was obviously seriously injured and couldn't move on his own. However, this was the beast world, and the witch doctor in the tribe had extremely high prestige. Only females would be able to receive the full attention of the witch doctor. Males would usually not need the witch doctor's attention. Minor injuries don't need to be taken care of. They'll heal in 2 or 3 days. Serious injury? Is there a need to waste medicinal herbs to treat it? Especially someone like Adri who had lost in a fight. How could he have the face to ask the witch doctor for treatment? But now, on account of Gu Mingming, not only did Leah treat him, he even came to treat him. Now, he was just asking him to come out of the cave. How was that making things difficult for him? When Bode and Sandy's other partner carried Adali out, Gu Mingming then realized that Adali was seriously injured. The wound on his abdomen was flipped outwards, and the blood around the wound had coagulated into a sticky state. His internal organs could be vaguely seen through the wound. His face was as pale as a sheet, and fine beads of sweat covered his entire body. If he was in the modern world, he would definitely be sent to the emergency room. But now, he was being carried out by Bode and Sandy's other partner, one by his arms and the other by his legs, like a suckling pig. Gu Mingming shuddered and said, "Oh my God, the way you two are carrying him is tearing the wound open again. Quick, find a flat and clean place to put him down." Bode's face darkened. This Gu Mingming really did not regard him as an outsider, ordering him around so easily. And as her first partner, he was not as important as Gu Mingming, whom he had only known for 2 to 3 days. Sigh. This was all fate. Aside from the topic, my babies, let me say something more. Tomorrow, QQ reading will be going up for PK. All my babies with a QQ reading ID, please give your recommendation tickets to our Gu Mingming tomorrow. It's the free recommendation ticket. One has not been published yet, so the monthly ticket cannot be used. Gina is now working hard to save up her chapters, hoping that she can update more chapters for everyone. But I might not be able to reply to everyone's messages in time, because I am making the best use of my time to write as many chapters as possible for everyone to see. If this PK is over, I heard that there will be a second round of PK. Then it will be another round of explosive updates. Chapter 135. Sandy asked one of his mates to take out a clean hide from the cave and lay it on the ground. Bode and another male placed Adri on the hide. Leah placed the stone pot at the side and used his large tail to wrap Gu Mingming behind him to protect her. He then squatted down to check on Adri's injuries. Gu Mingming knew that Leah was protecting her because he knew she was afraid of the smell of blood. She felt warmth in her heart, but she was still worried about Adali. After all, he was a beast and Sandy's partner. Although Leah said that Adri's injury had nothing to do with her, Gu Mingming still felt guilty. So for the first time, she resisted the temptation of her big tail and climbed onto Lee's back. She lay on Lee's shoulder and peeked out her little head to examine Adali's wound with Leah. If we just leave it like this, it will definitely be infected. Gu Mingming muttered softly. Leah tilted his head and asked Gu Mingming, "Then what do you think we should do?" Although Gu Mingming kept saying that what happened to Barit was just common sense and could not be considered as reviving the dead, but to Leah and everyone else, it was already a miraculous feat. Gu Mingming's extreme general knowledge was enough to crush many witch doctors in the beast world. So Leah still valued Gu Mingming's opinion, taking 10,000 steps back, even if Gu Mingming was just joking. So what? As long as Gu Mingming was happy, he would still listen to Gu Mingming's opinion and do as she said, much less Adali. As long as she was happy, Gu Mingming was very happy that Leah would listen to her seriously. This made her feel that she was very important. But if she really opened her mouth, she was afraid that she would be displaying her slight skill in front of Leah, the witch doctor. It would not be good if she gave the wrong information and caused Adali's life to be in danger. Leah could tell that Gu Mingming was doubtful, so he used his large tail to gently sweep her back and comforted her. "It's all right, just say what you think. I'll decide whether it's feasible or not." Gu Mingming then relaxed and nodded. "For this kind of injury, we will first disinfect the wound and reduce the inflammation before stitching it up to prevent infection. But there's no alcohol or needles. Tell me what it is. I'll make it for you." Leah thought that the pot could be replaced by something else, just like the pot. Gu Mingming shook her head and said, "Wine can be brewed using fermented grains, but it is definitely not something that can be done in 1 or 2 days. Sewing needles." As Gu Mingming spoke, she suddenly saw the huge pile of fish at the entrance of Sandy's cave. Those should be the ingredients that Bode originally wanted to practice roasting fish with. Gu Mingming's eyes lit up. She pointed at the largest one and said, "The suture needle can be replaced by fish bones." Without waiting for Gu Mingming to say anything, Bode had already carried the biggest fish over. "Yep, if I don't want to be ordered around by a female other than Sandy, the best way is to get things done before she opens her mouth." In this way, he would be doing it on his own initiative and not being ordered around by other females. If Gu Mingming knew what Bode was thinking, she would definitely say, "Congratulations, you've learned how to answer first." It was a pity that Gu Mingming only cared about choosing a suitable bone from the fish bones and did not have the time to tease Bode. This is good. After searching for a long time, Gu Mingming finally found a fish bone with a suitable thickness and curved angle. She handed it to Leah and said, "Daddy Leah, make a small hole at this position, but don't damage the other parts, is that all right?" Aside from the topic, on the first day of PK, please leave more comments, it's best if it's related to the plot. Those who have tickets, please hand over your tickets. Those who don't have tickets, please hand over your tickets tomorrow. Those who haven't bookmarked it, please click to bookmark it. Those who have bookmarked it, please keep it. Those who want to reward Jean Eyre and Gu Mingming, you can start your performance now. Chapter 136. Leah looked at the fish bone in Gu Mingming's hand and used the most precise control of his fingernails to carve a tiny hole in the shape of a rice grain at the spot Gu Mingming pointed at. Gu Mingming looked at it again and again before nodding her head in satisfaction. Yes, just like this. With the needle, Gu Mingming lowered her head and looked around. She saw the stone pot that Leah had placed at the side and said to Sandy, "Sandy, ask your partner to start a fire and find 3 tree trunks as thick as this one and some sturdier tree vines." "Oh right, I need Elvis's help. Can he come over too?" Sandy replied, "Of course." After getting Sandy's permission, Gu Mingming turned to Elvis and shouted, "Leader, you can come over now." Sandy has agreed. Actually, with Elvis's hearing, Gu Mingming really did not need to shout like that, because he had already heard their conversation just now. However, it felt different to be called over by Gu Mingming. Elvis walked in front of Gu Mingming and asked, "What can I do for you?" Gu Mingming replied, "I remember there were many animal organs thrown at the stream just now. Leader, can you help me ask if anyone still wants those organs? If they don't want them, then help me take one of the intestines back. If they still want it, I'll go get it for you." Elvis interrupted Gu Mingming. What a joke. Would anyone dare to not give what his Xiaoming wanted? Gu Mingming nodded. She suddenly thought of something and pulled Elvis, who was about to leave. She turned to Sandy and asked, "What is your Adali's original form?" Sandy replied, "He's the same as me. He's from the bear tribe." Gu Mingming nodded and said, "Leader, I remember a few people ate bear's intestines just now. Can you see if there are any bear intestines left? If you have a choice, take a bear's intestine." Elvis did not ask why, and just nodded his head in agreement. He then kissed Gu Mingming's forehead and turned to walk towards the stream. Leah was a little jealous and said, "Everyone has something to do, but I'm the only one with nothing to do?" Gu Mingming laughed and said, "You're the chief surgeon today. Your hands are going to be operated on later. How can you do other chores? If he injures his hand, who's going to suture Adali later?" "Me." Leah was a little surprised. "Of course it's you. If it wasn't you, would it be me?" Gu Mingming looked at Lee's barely visible nod and smiled bitterly. "I only have theoretical knowledge and lack practical experience. Besides, I'm a coward, I don't dare to make a move." Leah used his large tail to encircle Gu Mingming back into his arms. He swayed his tail from time to time and said, "All right, I will listen to Gu Mingming. I'll do whatever Mingming asks me to do." What a glib tongue. Gu Mingming chided with a smile, but she was not angry. Instead, she felt ripples in her heart. Bode and the other 2 males brought the tree branches that Gu Mingming wanted in a short while and started a fire. Gu Mingming instructed Bode to tie the 3 thick tree branches together with tree vines at an angle of about 120 degrees. The 3 tree branches were evenly distributed and became a simple frame. Gu Mingming used the tree vines to hang the stone pot up. She originally wanted to hang it above the fire to boil a pot of water to disinfect Adali. Unfortunately, she miscalculated the weight of the stone pot. The moment she hung it up, the tree vines snapped with a clang. The stone pot really fell down and smashed into the fire, causing sparks to fly everywhere. Aside from the topic, a few days ago, a reader suggested to me to let Sandy give birth to a son named Winnie. I thought about it for a while. Yeah, that's good. It obviously solved the problem of my name being useless. So among Sandy's 6 partners, I arranged a bear tribe. Chapter 137. Li's reaction was extremely fast. He scooped Gu Mingming back and locked her in his arms. He turned around and used his back to block all the sparks. Gu Mingming was indeed shocked. She shrunk into Li's arms and did not dare to move. After a long while, she stretched her neck out to take a look. But the moment she moved, she heard Leah say, "Mingming." Huh. Gu Mingming felt a little guilty. She lowered her head like a child who had done something wrong. But she lifted her eyes to peek at Li's expression. As expected, Leah could not even maintain his smile. He held onto Gu Mingming's shoulders and adjusted to her height. He stared straight into her eyes and said, "Do you know how scared I was just now? If you were hurt even a little, it would be more painful than having my heart gouged out." Gu Mingming pursed her lips and said, "I didn't know that pot was so heavy." Huh? Leah did not buy it. He was unusually stern and did not leave any room for negotiation. "I know my mistake." Gu Mingming lowered her head and maintained a good attitude. "What did you do wrong?" Leah did not intend to let her off just like that. This little female, if he did not teach her a lesson, she would really dare to do anything. "That branch is too thin. I should have asked Bode and the rest to find a thick one from the start. Oh, that's right, we should not have set up a pot. We should have built a stove so that it would not fall." The more Gu Mingming said, the more she felt that it made sense. She nodded and said, "Yeah, yes, we should have built a stove." Gu Mingming. Leah was really furious. What was this little female thinking in her head? Couldn't she just leave this matter to the males to think of a solution? That pot was so heavy. If it had landed on her, the consequences would be unimaginable. But she was still thinking about building a stove. Did she not know that she almost lost her life just now? Oh, fire. Daddy Leah, don't be angry. I really know my mistake. I will never carry a stone pot again. Gu Mingming tried to please him. What else? Leah finally calmed down after getting her assurance. Gu Mingming blinked her big eyes and tilted her head to look at Leah in confusion. Leah was so angry that he clenched his teeth. He really wanted to pry open her little head and see what kind of weird things were inside. Unfortunately, the hand that was raised high did not bear to hurt her at all. It only touched her eyebrows and said, "You have to get used to relying on me. In the future, let me do whatever you need me to do. Don't put yourself in danger and make me worry. Do you hear me?" Oh, Daddy Leah is right. I will listen to Daddy Leah." Gu Mingming hugged Li's arm and shook it with all her might, acting like a spoiled child. "Daddy Leah, don't be angry. I will treat myself as a severely handicapped person in the future. The kind that can't take care of myself and ask you to do everything. That's a good boy." Leah loved it when Gu Mingming acted coquettishly and shamelessly in front of him. He did not know why, but he felt that the left side of his chest was filled to the brim. That sense of fullness made him feel as if he was sitting on the clouds, floating so fast that it didn't seem real. "But will you annoy me? What if Daddy Leah hates me?" Gu Mingming pouted and asked, "If you are worried that I will have a change of heart, why don't you settle on me as soon as possible? When your estrus is over, we will mate. This way, I will be yours for life. If I have a change of heart, the beast deity will take my life for you. How about that?" Aside from the topic, OOPK is so nerve-wracking. Babies, have you voted yet? You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.